Hey everybody, KC here. So you may know that Kroger is beginning a pilot program for drone deliveries in Centerville, Ohio. And they're working with a company called Drone Express. I wanted to know more about it. How far can the drones go? How much can they carry? But most importantly, I'm curious about how relevant this program is to companies that are not named Amazon or Kroger and don't have those kinds of deep pockets. Is there a relevance here that is going to be applicable to different kinds of retailers and in what kinds of markets? So I reached out to Beth Flippo, who's the Chief Technology Officer of a company called Telegrid, which owns Drone Express. We spent some time via Zoom in conversation. Wanted to find out more? I hope you enjoy it. Beth Flippo, welcome to Morning Newsbeat.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thrilled. So let's start with what you're doing for Kroger right now. It's about a month or so since you announced. There were lots of headlines when you started, flying drone deliveries. So where are you in terms of the pilot? Let's start there, and then we'll work backwards in terms of how the technology is developed.
Well, we are getting very close to going live. It is weeks. We are just doing final tests. We've learned a lot about the environment, the community, people who want this type of drone delivery. It's been remarkable. Everybody's been positive. We haven't encountered anybody yet that's been negative. People are offering up their houses to be the test sites. People come to the parking lot with their pickup trucks and sit there on the back and watch. And it's been tremendous. It's better than we could have ever expected.
And you've done some test flights, right? You've done some tests of dropping things off?
Yes. Yeah, we've done tests around the neighborhood, wherever people will allow us to test with, or parks. So yeah, we've been doing all that. We're hiring. We've hired about 10 pilots for that one store, and we're finding the greatest pilots. It's not been as difficult as we thought that might be, but we're finding people who have done this for fun their whole lives, and they're leaving their careers behind to do this for us.
Well, there's a lot of turnover in the workforce right now. That's fascinating. So, and to be clear, let's start in the beginning. So, I guess if you don't count the Jetsons, the first time we sort of became aware, you're laughing. Had to work my pop culture reference in there somewhere.
Is that pop culture?
Yeah, I think Jetsons is well, if you're my age, it is, I guess. If you don't count the Jetsons, it's probably when Jeff Bezos was on 60 Minutes, and it was back in 2013, and he opens the door to 60 Minutes. And says, "Ooh, I want to show you something." And he shows these drones. And at the time, I have to say, and I wrote this over and over, so I'm going to end up looking stupid, is I thought this was a feint. I thought, okay, he wants us to pay attention to the drones, but he doesn't really have the intention of flying drones. He wants us to pay attention to that while he does something else that we won't pay attention to. But in fact, I was totally wrong about that. It has proceeded. You were actually the CTO at Telegrid at the time. Do you remember seeing that? Do you remember what you were thinking? Were drones on your radar at that time?
Drones were not. So Telegrid's been around since 1984. So we've always been a defense contractor. We're a communications company. So we build radios, handheld radios, wireless mesh networking, always military grade encryption, those kinds of things. And at that time, we just thought, wow, that's a really cool technology. Maybe someday our radios will be on there. We never expected that, just a few short years later, a drone company would approach us about that. And that's how we got into the drone business.
Yeah. Now your drones, unlike, I remember one of the things that Bezos talked about was his drones were autonomous, that they would program in the location, and the drones would go there. There would be nobody actually driving them. You were talking about have pilots, so yours are a different kind of drone, right?
Our drones are also fully autonomous. The FAA actually prefers autonomous flight. However, you have to have pilots to always be on the controls just in case. That's just current regulations. But the drones themselves actually fly autonomously.
So the drones you program it in, and they're the pilots are sort of a safety net just in case.
Yeah. Yes.
Why does the FAA prefer autonomous? That's fascinating to me. I didn't realize that. Why do they prefer autonomous drones?
Because it's different than autonomy on the ground. Autonomy on the ground, you've got to worry about sticks and cars and pedestrians and all kinds of obstacles. You don't have those kinds of obstacles in the air. So autonomy is much easier to perform. And if you think about it, you'd rather have the computer making those choices, doing this autonomy that's been around for all these years, than having an individual who might not know the equipment as well, or might have a different way of flying. So for the FAA, they prefer the computer do the flying. They just want to make sure somebody's there always.
Yeah. I remember when they first started talking about drones, the FAA, when you go back to 2013, 14, 15, the FAA at the time seemed very negative on the whole notion. Like, this is crazy. And there seems to have been a real turnaround in their thinking and sort of an acceleration faster than I think people expected, if I've been reading correctly. Is that a fair assessment, that the regulatory part of it has shifted enough that make this possible?
Yes. So in the beginning, it was not negative. They just didn't know how to keep manned aircraft safe with all these unmanned aircraft. So they were just trying to come up with what the regulations would be. Now, after so many more people are flying, so many more people have tested, they've done this IPP program. It's now called the Beyond program. They're learning, they're realizing that they can write those regulations. So that's why perception has really changed in the FAA. And the process that our drone is going through, it's a type certification, is the same that a 747 goes through. They look through every single piece of the drawings, the designs. We rebuilt this drone so many times, what they like, what they don't like. Our drone is 95% American made. The rest is EU products, and it's because we need to have a production certificate, just like Boeing does, to produce these exactly the same every single time. And only American suppliers will give you that kind of assurance, with ISO certificates or AS9100. So we have learned a lot, just like the FAA, through this process. So that's why I think they've opened up more.
And your drones are capable of carrying what? And how far?
Our drones can probably carry 15 pounds, but we're only getting our type certificate for 5 pounds, because our job is not to stress the drone or to try to fly the drone farther. Our job is to try to see where we fit in the logistics world. So we're a service. We don't sell our drones. We are our pilots. The way we work with Kroger is you order through Kroger, somebody from their team runs it out to our pilots, it gets put on our drone, it flies off, and you just pay a delivery fee. And for us, the shorter distance, the better. And we are just trying to learn the environment around us, what people are ordering, when they're ordering. So that's why we're not trying, we always say we're not a drone company, we're a logistics company.
Right. What's the outside distance in terms of how far these things can go?
It depends. Of course, there's a lot about regulations. Right. Just if you opened it up, our drone can fly for an hour on a battery. So it can fly pretty far. We could probably do 5 miles there and back. But again, it could probably go actually farther. Sorry, but we're not trying to go far.
Right.
We want to stay close and learn and not have risk we don't need.
No, and I asked that, and I don't even know what the insights your company would have into this at this point, but Kroger is doing things like building what are essentially pure play warehouses in Florida where they don't have stores. And so I'm fascinated by the idea that they might actually go after the Florida market without a physical footprint, and with the ability to use warehouses, dark stores, trucks, autonomous vehicles and drones to serve the marketplace in a different sort of way. And it sounds like this is a piece of the puzzle that could make that possible.
Right. That's exactly what this does. This gives brick and mortar stores a chance to fight online retailers, because this is a very inexpensive technology. It's a green technology. There's no reason for you to wait 2 days anymore if you can get that same thing in 15 minutes from a Kroger marketplace that's right nearby. So that's why we're fitting in. We're not trying to replace what exists. We're trying to add to it. So right now, all of us forget, coffee creamer in the morning. We're kind of out of luck. Drones are going to fill that need, and you'll be able to order something before your kids get on the bus. These are things that are new. They're something that nobody can do right now.
And is that where you and they sort of see the hole in the market that needs to be filled? Is I wake up in the morning and I'm out of coffee, or I don't have bananas, or just the small convenience purchases, as opposed to that I need quickly, as opposed to a larger sort of regular shop. I mean, 5 pounds obviously puts limits on how big the shop can be, but is that sort of where you see the play taking place?
Yeah, I see a lot of last minute ordering. Like a rotisserie chicken is 2.5 pounds. Right now, if I want to order dinner for my family, I'm going to order fast food or pizza because that's what's available. But there's so many healthy options right a mile away. I'm just not going to go get it. So we're going to see a lot of those kinds of orders, and people are going to be ordering throughout the day because you're not affecting, it's good. It doesn't hurt the environment as if you were doing this with trucks. So.
To what extent do you think, the pandemic, the COVID sort of accelerate the interest in this as being as an option that can at least complement the notion of going to the store, or supplement the notion of going to the store?
Well, the big thing is that there was a study that came out before COVID that a lot of people who deliver food tasted first. And if you can see now, a lot of
I forgot about that study. Oh, I remember writing about it. It's so gross.
Yeah, 30%. But now you see a lot of the food you order actually has stickers on it so that you'll know if it's been opened. People don't want to live like that. They want to have something delivered that has not been touched, that nobody, who, sneezed in their hand, then touched their food. And that's what COVID really did, is now they want contactless delivery. This is very important to people. If they are sick at home, that they know when they order medicine that it just came right from the store and was sprayed and at their home. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to gross you out.
I totally forgot about that study. Who would have dreamed that drones don't eat would have been a selling point, I know.
And also no tipping. Tipping was a big thing during the pandemic. People were paying so much money to tip grocery pickers. Yeah. And drones don't have any of that either. We also only do one delivery at a time. So we're actually going to break the link between you and your house. So we can deliver to you wherever your phone is. So if you're at a friend's house, you're not going to wander around going, what's the address here? Like, it will come to you. If you are in the park, you need Gatorade, it comes to you.
I'm watching my kid's baseball game, and I want to get something delivered. That's terrific. Unless somebody hits a fly ball, but that's a different question. So Amazon and Kroger are clearly companies with resources. Are there limits to? Do you have to be of a certain size? How do you judge whether or not this is a sector that you want to get into? Is it about transactions? Is it about customer? How do you figure that out?
That it was groceries.
Well, no, that drones make sense. If you're a one-store independent, or you're a 25-store regional, or whatever it happens to be, are there metrics that if somebody comes to you and says, hey, Beth, I'm trying to figure out, does this make sense? Are there metrics that you can provide that will answer that question pretty easily?
Yeah, so when we actually chose Kroger, we didn't choose them because they were the biggest grocery store. We're in New Jersey. There isn't a Kroger anywhere near us. We looked at all the grocery chains and we looked at their locations on a map. And even though Walmart has more stores than Kroger, they're actually farther from the population. So they're sometimes on the side of a highway or they're in a more industrial area. Kroger stores, they almost begin to overlap at about 2 miles. And you're talking about a piece of equipment that has a range issue. So we knew that if we could work within a certain radius of these stores, that this would make drone delivery possible across the United States if you could find a partner like this. And we, explained it to them in that way, and they understood that this is theirs. They are the ones that can make this really happen. Once you have these in all different locations, yes, the smaller stores will be able to use them. You'll be able to have these at malls. You'll be able to have them doing fast food, and they'll just be on a corner and somebody can run it over. But somebody had to be the first to get this to everywhere, so it became a real delivery option.
So since you're a logistics company and you're a service provider to the retailer, so how do you get paid? You get paid. You just get a piece of the transaction. You get a fee. How does that work?
We have a delivery fee. It's a set delivery fee. So unlike right now with regular deliveries, you have certain weights, you have certain distances. None of that matters to a drone. So it's a one-time fixed fee for all deliveries, and that's how we make money.
And if a retailer, if Kroger wanted to say, hey, listen, if you want to be a drone subscription customer, then you get entitled to unlimited drone deliveries for X number of dollars. That's up to them to figure out with you, right? There's probably lots of ways you could slice that bread.
Right. So that's really up to them. I can't speak for how they plan to do it, but the first store, they are giving this away for free for drone delivery. So they really see people are going to like this. And
they're paying your fee and to start it out to give it some
offering it to the general population for free.
Yeah. Are there differences? I've always thought, this sort of made more sense for rural and suburban markets than it did for urban markets, simply because you've got space to. Well, that's the next question I need to ask you. What does the consumer have to do? They put out a landing pad. How does that work? And then, am I right that urban just doesn't make a lot of sense for this? In either order you want. Take those questions.
Oh, okay. So, rural is where a lot of people practice, but urban is where you need to be to actually learn how these systems maneuver and how to do deliveries. It's just the way it is. So what we do is we have a trailer that has 3 drones in it. We bring it to the Kroger parking lot, and it stays all the time in the parking lot of the store. From sunup to sundown, our pilots come, they man the trailer, packages come running out, we put it on the ground, drone takes off and does a delivery. And we stay fixed. So we learn the neighborhood. We can learn if somebody really doesn't like the drone going over their house. We can learn that certain people are, ordering more than others. Being in that fixed location really changes, how you look at drone delivery. And you can see this could make sense. But if you were flying from a moving vehicle, it's very difficult to see where drone delivery works.
I do love there is a theatrical nature to this. If you're at the store and you've got that van parked out front and drones are taking off and coming back, that's kind of cool. I can see people saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to that store because I want to see that operation."
We definitely have groupies. We have groupies that show up all the time with their kids. You've got to keep the cones out to keep people from hitting the drone and driving through it. But but people will eventually get over that. And most of the time they won't see the drone. It's just that you'll open your door and the package will be there within 15 minutes. So that's why we're trying to show that it's not a gimmick. This is something that has a place in the logistics world.
I want to back up a little bit. So if I'm the customer and I have to opt in, obviously, if I want drone deliveries, right? I have to say I'm willing to accept drone deliveries, or if I just order something for delivery, Some days it'll come by truck, some days it'll come by drone. How does that work?
Well, actually, you pick it. So just like when you're doing deliveries, it'll show FedEx, UPS, it'll show drone delivery as an option. You can pick that.
And then do I need to have like a flag on the front yard which tells them where to put it down? How does that work?
So we actually we received all the addresses for everybody in the town, and we picked a certain location and put a little dot on a map. So when people order, they're going to get a text message saying a drone delivery is coming to you. This is where we think it should be delivered. And they can take that little circle and drag it around and put it in their backyard, put it on their driveway, put it on the grass. And that once it's saved, they can always change it, but most of the time it'll be saved forever. So it'll know where you want your packages dropped.
I want to go back to something else. You said urban is actually where the action is. But when I think urban, I'm thinking New York City. I can't even imagine or Newark, right?
Yeah, that kind of urban, and I'm also a New Yorker. That kind of urban will be a while because there's very little places to actually drop anything. You don't have even the sidewalks. People are there. But this is we're operating right outside of Dayton. There are stores right outside of Cincinnati. These are still considered urban areas, metropolitan areas.
See, if you're from New York, you think of those as being suburbs. I mean, that's right.
Rural. I'm guilty of it too. But
yes.
They're very busy.
Yes, I was born in Greenwich Village, so my line for what's urban and not is pretty high.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm the same way. But what's one thing we've learned about here is that there are major cities all across this country, and just like Walmart started that way, going through the countryside before they ever went to a major city, that's the way drones are going to operate too.
So what's the question if a retailer is watching this and says, "Okay, I'm curious. I want to check this out." What's the question that they should ask and answer themselves before they email you?
What is the population density around their location? So if they are somebody, we've gotten a lot of requests from smaller stores that happen to not be in the middle of the town. They might be on the outskirts. It's probably not going to be the best for drone delivery because it'll have the drone traveling so far, you're not going to be able to do as many deliveries. Yeah. But that would probably be the best one. And also if you're in restricted airspace. Right. So if you're anywhere near a major airport, you're going to have some difficulties.
Some issues, which is good. Is there when you talk about population density, is there a number? Is there a standard number? You've got to have X number of people per square mile, or what? How does it?
We like to be like 3,000 people per square mile and under. A major city would be like 6,000 people per square mile. So that's what we would recommend. And again, people know their neighborhoods. If they're out very rural in the middle of the countryside and they're running a little, farmer's market, it's not going to be great for drone delivery. But someday it will. Yeah. Someday the drones will get better and they'll hit those places too.
Well, because you got to figure at a certain point that those kinds of rural areas, it'll be less expensive to send a drone out there than it will be a truck, right? I mean, yes. It'll get there faster, or it doesn't have to follow the highway, it can just fly over stuff and just, it would strike me as being, in certain cases, makes sense. A last question. When in the case of Kroger or anybody else, you don't want to give too much about what Kroger's doing away, but if a retailer is doing this, is the drone branded with that retailer's name? And does it become Drone Express by Kroger or by whoever it happens to be? How does that work? Because I think the thing that people are becoming more and more concerned about in the industry is that the delivery function is being owned by companies like, DoorDash or Instacart or Uber, whoever it happens to be, and it ends up supporting their brands as opposed to the retailer's brand. So is this branded? Is this a branded kind of offering? So it's specific to that retailer?
It is a co-branded offering, what
Okay.
we do. So we have Kroger drone delivery powered by Drone Express.
Yeah.
But that is one of the big problems with a lot of these running, we call them like running deliveries, is that they get in between the supermarket and their customer. You place orders on their app, not the supermarket. And supermarkets really hate that because they have no control over their customer. Sometimes the prices are different than what they offer in their stores. It's not ideal. So we specifically went out of our way to make sure when you place an order, you place it through the store. We're not involved in that process at all.
Yeah. I think that's really smart, because I think that the one thing that retailers have to worry about going forward is this whole disintermediation, right? Is somebody getting in between me and my customer. In some of those cases, those companies are getting their own promotional dollars from the manufacturer. They're getting in the way. You're just providing, it's not easy to get things flying through the sky, but if you're not getting in between the customer and the retailer, that's, I think, going to be a valuable real estate to own.
Right. And that's why we're trying to be a delivery company, just like UPS. UPS is just doing the delivery. We're trying to do the same thing.
Beth, this is fascinating. If people want to find out more about what you guys do and get in touch with you, how do they do that?
So they can go to droneexpress.ai and they can learn all about the stuff that we're doing with the FAA, all with the intelligent technology that we have on our drone. And they could always reach out and talk to us. So they could come on down to the Centerville Farm Watch.
There you go. Listen, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care.
For having me.